Hi and welcome everyone. So I'm going to start off this lesson by saying one of the most frustrating things in English is the fact that many words have letters that we don't pronounce at all. These are called silent letters. So in this lesson, I'm going to teach you all about silent letters in part 1 and part 2. So let's begin. What are silent letters? Silent letters are letters that are not pronounced when you say a word. This means that you cannot hear the letter making a sound within the word. So more than 60% of English words have silent letters in them. However, there are some basic rules about which letters are silent before or after other letters. But be aware, the rules don't always work. So, silent letters we're going to start with the letter A. The letter A, if, so before we start with the letter A, so unfortunately there is nothing that you or I can do to change this, but there are some rules which can help us. So knowing these rules about the silent letters can really help your pronunciation. So in this lesson, I'm going to explain those rules and also give you lots of examples. And I would like for you to pronounce these words after me, so you are familiar with them when you do see them. Okay, so let's begin with the letter A. Most of the time, we do pronounce the letter A, but if a word ends in I-C-A-L-L-Y, most people don't pronounce it. Here are some examples. Please repeat them after me. Automatically, basically, chaotically, logically, practically, specifically, surgically. Okay, again, these are kind of hard. Automatically, basically, chaotically, logically, practically, specifically, and surgically. But be careful because that rule doesn't apply to all the words that end in A-L-L-Y. For example, ideally, generally, vocally. So in these words, we do pronounce the A. So this rule only applies if a word ends in I-C-A-L-L-Y, like basically, specifically. Now, moving to letter B. B here, we don't usually pronounce the B if it's after M at the end of a word. For example, bomb. We don't say bomb. We have climb. We don't say climb, so the B is silent. Comb. We don't say comb. We have crumb, dumb, and lamb. Again, bomb, climb, comb, crumb, dumb, lamb. So just pretend the B is not there and do not pronounce the B when it comes after an M here. Occasionally, the B is silent after M. Okay, so occasionally, sometimes, once in a while, the B is silent after M in the middle of a word, like climb, here. If a word ends in MB, oh, these are still the silent. We have the limb, num, succumb, thumb, tomb, and womb. We don't say limb or numb or succumb or thumb or thumb or womb. No, the B is silent here. Pretend the B is not available. Okay, so the B in these words are silent. So we say limb, num, succumb, thumb, tomb, and womb. Occasionally, the B is silent after M in the middle of a word, like for example, climber or plumber. Here the B is silent. We do not say climber or plumber. No, we say climber and we say plumber. Climber, plumber. No B. The B is silent here. Also, when, like I said, occasionally after M in the middle of a word, when MB is in the middle of a word, most of the time you pronounce both letters. Again, when MB is in the middle of a word, most of the time you pronounce both letters. For example, ambiguous, member, number, symbol, umbrella. So here you can hear the B. We are pronouncing it. So when MB is in the middle of a word, most of the time you pronounce both letters. Again, ambiguous, member, number, symbol, umbrella. Okay, so you hear the B and we are pronouncing it here in this case. Here we have in a few words before T. So MB is not at the end of a word. The vast majority of the time we pronounce the B. There are a few words in which the B is silent before the T. Okay, so here we have words and the T comes after the B. And these are silent. We do not pronounce the B in these words when the T comes after the B, such as depth, doubt, subtle, debtor, doubtful, and subtly. Okay, again, depth, doubt, subtle, debtor, doubtful, and subtly. Here we have, now let's look at C. C is almost always silent if it comes after an S and before an E. Again, C is almost always silent if it comes after an S and before an E or an I. Okay, for example, descent, fascinate, fluorescent, scene, scent, science, and scissors. Again, descent, fascinate, fluorescent, scene, scent, science, and scissors. We hear the S, but we really don't hear the C. So here the C is silent because, like we said, it is after an S and before an E or an I. Again, descent, fascinate, fluorescent, scene, scent, science, and scissors. Repeat them after me, please, so you are familiar with these. And then the next time you see this word, you remember what Ms. Nasreen said. The C is silent. I shouldn't pronounce it. So we don't say skeen or skint or science. No, we say scene, scent, science, scissors. Okay. Now, it's also silent after this word, muscle. Okay, here's an exception. So C has an exception, and it's silent here in muscle. We're not saying muscle, no, muscle, يعني عضلات. Okay, so this is an exceptional word. This is an exception that is important to know because we use this word often. So don't forget muscle. We don't say muscle. Next, we have the letter D. Now, D is silent before the letter G, like in badge. It's not bad. How should I say it wrong? It's badge. We don't say bad digit, badgie. No, we say badge. The D is silent here. We don't say bridgie. No, we say bridge. We don't say budget, we say budget. We don't say edgy, we say edge. We don't say fridgy, we say fridge. And we don't say judgy, we say judge. And we don't say knowledgey, we say knowledge. Okay, so here the D is silent. And remember, it's before the letter G. Just remember these, and I'm going to repeat them again, pronounce them to you one more time. Badge, bridge, budget, edge, fridge, judge, and knowledge. Okay. Here are some common words that have a silent D, like handkerchief. We don't say handkerchief. No, we say handkerchief. We have handsome. We don't say handsome. We say handsome. Handsome. The D is silent here. We have sandwich. We don't say sandwich. We say sandwich. And we have Wednesday. We don't say Wednesday. We say Wednesday. The D is silent in all of these words. Handkerchief, handsome, sandwich, Wednesday. Okay, now let's look at E. E, there are lots of silent E in English, as we know. Normally, if an E is at the end of a word, we don't pronounce it, like before, bridge, example, give, have, some. Okay? We don't say before-y, we don't say bridge-y, we don't say example-y, give-y, have-y, some-y. No. The E here is silent. So remember, if the E is at the end of a word, we don't pronounce it at all. Okay? So we say before, we say bridge, example, give, and have, and some. Okay. Now, sometimes E affects the pronunciation of the previous vowel sounds. Okay, so again, sometimes the E affects the pronunciation of the previous vowel sounds. Here we have words on the left and we have words on the right. We have cap, C-A-P, and we have, if we add an E to it, it becomes cape. So we have two different words, two different meaning. Cap, ta'iyya, cape, like Batman's cape. Here we have cod, the fish cod, and then if we add an E, it becomes code. Okay, rakam sirri. So we have two different words, two different meanings, just by adding an E to the end of the word. We have hat. If we add an E to hat, it becomes hate. So we have hat, ta'iyya, and hate, ما يحب. And then we have quit, and we have quite. Quit, and if we add an E, it becomes quite. We have sit, and we have sight. We have sit, and if we add an E, it becomes sight. Okay, now here we have, be careful, this rule doesn't always apply if E is the only vowel like in these words. Here we have be, he, she, and the or the. Here you can hear the E, like be, he, she, or the. You can hear the E. So the rule doesn't apply to all of the words. These words here, we can hear the E, so the E here is not silent. So be careful. Moving along, here we have normally silent E, and if it ends in ed, verbing in the ending in ed, like called, helped, looked. We don't say okay, so let me repeat this. Here's another helpful rule that we should remember. If the past form of a verb ends in ed, we normally don't pronounce the letter E, like called, helped, looked, seemed. We don't say called, we don't say helped, we don't say looked, we don't say seemed, okay? We say called, helped, looked, and seemed. Again, called, helped, looked, seemed. Okay. We only, pronounce E in the base verb, okay, ends in D or T, D or T, such as ended, included, started, okay, wanted. So again, we only pronounce E if the verb ends in D or T, like ended, we hear the D, included, started, wanted. Okay, now what about G? What about G? Well, we don't pronounce the G if it's followed by an N in the beginning of a word. Again, we don't pronounce the G if it's followed by N in the beginning of a word. There aren't many words like this, like gnat, gnaw, and gnome. Again, gnat, gnaw, and gnome. Like I said, there isn't many words. Here, it's also usually silent if GN is at the end of a word, like campaign, design, foreign, rhyme, and sign. So here the G is silent. We don't pronounce the G. We don't say design G. We don't say foreign G. We don't say sign G. Campaign, design, foreign, rhyme, and sign. Okay, take a good look at these, pronounce them with me, and let's move along. Okay. Again, be careful if GN is in the middle of a word. Most of the time we do pronounce the G. For example, ignore, magnificent, and signature. Again, if GN is in the middle of a word, most of the time we do pronounce the G. Like ignore, you hear the G. ignore, magnificent, magnificent, signature, signature. You do hear the G when I'm pronouncing these words. Okay, and now we have the letter, no, here we have some more GH is usually silent after a vowel sound, like daughter, night, thought, through, and way. Here we have, before the GH, we have a vowel, which is U, A, E, I, O, U. Again, A, E, I, O, U. If the word has any of these vowel letters, we do not pronounce the GH. The GH in this case is silent. Again, daughter, night, thought, through, and way. Okay, and now the letter H. So if a word begins with GH, the H is silent, like gherkin, ghetto, and ghost. Okay, so again, if the word begins in GH, the H is silent, like gherkin, ghetto, and ghost. Similarly, if a word starts with RH, like we have here, the H is also silent, like in rhinoceros or rhythm. Okay, rhinoceros or rhythm. There are also a lot of medical and scientific words that start with RH, like rheumatic and rhinoplasty. These are also, medically and scientific words, and the H here is silent. But if the word starts with WH, the H is normally silent, like whale, what, when, white, and why. So here, if the word starts in WH, the H is silent. Again, whale, what, when, white, and why. We don't say whale, we don't say wahat, or wehen, or wahite, or wahai. We say whale, what, when, white, and why. H is also sometimes silent after C. Again, H is also silent after C, like in chemistry, mechanic, like in school, or stomach, or technology. Again, H is sometimes silent after the letter C, like in chemistry, mechanic, school, stomach, and technology. But remember, sometimes, remember I said sometimes CH is more often pronounced ch, like in chocolate or in chair, and sometimes it's even pronounced sh, like in chef. Okay, again, remember that I said sometimes CH is more often pronounced ch, like in chocolate or chair, and sometimes it's even pronounced sh, like in chef, chef. Okay? So there are a few words that start with silent H, like in hair, honest, air, honest, honor, and hour. So again, these are words that start with a silent H, air, honest, hour, and honor. Okay, So in American English, the H is in herb. In herb, they say herb, and then in herbal, they say herbal. They do not pronounce these two, and especially in these two words. And you probably heard me saying these, and I remember my students have asked me, why are you saying herb? Well, because in British they say herb, they say herbal, but in American English they say herb. They don't pronounce the H here, and they say herbal. Again, British English, it's herb and herb and herbal. In American English, it's herb and herbal. So they are not pronounced, so they are herb and herbal. So the H in American English is not pronounced. That's why you heard me say herb sometimes. But don't worry, most of the time, if a word starts with H, you pronounce it, okay? So most of the time, if a word starts with H, you do pronounce it, such as house or hat, okay? What else? House, hat, hot, what else? Heat, heater. So, like I said, most of the words that do start with H, we do pronounce the H. So, it's really common sense. It's not that complicated. Here we have, we are talking about I now. So, what about the letter I? We basically always pronounce the letter I. So the main exception is in the word business. We do not say busyness, okay? We say business. Here the I is silent, and this is the only exception in this word business. Remember, business, the I is silent. We never say busyness, okay? Business. And moving on to K, the letter K. So this one is easy. K is silent before the letter N at the beginning of a word, like knee or knife, night, not, and no. Again, K is silent before the letter N at the beginning of a word, like knee, knife, night, not, and no. Now let's look at the letter L. Unfortunately, there's no rule here. Okay, so most of the time we do pronounce the letter L like in ball, fold, result, or roll, or skull, or what else? So most of the time we do pronounce the L. Ball, fold, result, you hear the L. So with L, you just need to know and learn the exceptions, okay? You need to learn these exceptions. Some common ones are what I have given you here, like calf, half, chalk, talk, walk, bomb, calm, and palm. Now, we do not say calf, half, chalk, talk, walk, balm, calm, palm. No. Here, the L in these words is exceptional. So these are some of the common ones that are exceptional. Again, calf, half, chalk, talk, walk, bomb, calm, and palm. Okay. It's also silent in words could, should, and would. Okay, here are some more exceptions. Could, should, and would. You do not hear the L. We do not say cold should, or would. We say could, should, and would. Another one is salmon. Okay, we do not say salmon. Okay, salmon is type of fish. It's salmon. Pretend the L is not there. Salmon. We do not say salmon. This is another exception word. Okay, and in the word almond, the L is optional in my opinion. I personally say almond, and some people say almond. But this is the optional. This is like, it depends where you're from. Some native speakers say almond. I personally say almond. I just think it's more grammatically pronounced correctly, almond. But again, this is it's an optional. And that's it for today's lesson. This is part 1. I will continue part 2 with the rest of the letters. But like I'd like to always put like a positive quote at the end of my lessons, just to give you a boost, and so that you look forward to my quotes at the end of the lesson. Everyone's going through a hard time now, so just take a deep breath, close your eyes, relax, and just think everything will be okay. And remember to love yourself enough to set boundaries. Your time and energy are precious. You get to choose how you use it, and you teach people how to treat you by deciding what you will and won't accept. Okay, I think this is a great piece of advice, and it just it's like a booster, like a positive energy booster. Again, love yourself enough to set boundaries. Your time and energy are precious. You get to choose how you use it. So don't be lazy, be productive, work hard, study hard. And you also get to teach people how to treat you by deciding what you will and won't accept. Take a good look at this, study this well, keep it in your mind, and remember, you are great and everything will be okay. I hope you have an awesome day. Until our next lesson, ciao.